Welcome to Produce Talks.
This whole business is based on relationship and friendships.
Food is darn simple.
What can we do? What are other countries doing?
How important it is for industry to be talking about this.
We're going back to the farm. We're going back to the whole food.
Hi, I'm Wally Burns, the Education and Training Manager at CPMA. CPMA would like to acknowledge Nature Fresh Farms as our Produce Talks series sponsor. Find out more about Nature Fresh Farms and how they are growing for a kinder future at www.naturefresh.ca. You can keep up with them on Instagram or Twitter at nature_fresh and on Pinterest at naturefresh, along with other social media. Today, we discuss the importance of mentoring with two emerging leaders in the produce industry. We'll talk about their experiences with the CPMA Passion for Produce program and how it's contributed to their careers. We're excited to have as host Greg Ogiba, who is chair of the CPMA Education Committee and president of Mike and Mike's. Joining Greg are Jessica Levac of Bellemont Powell and Michael Wexler of the Oppenheimer Group. Take it away, Greg.
All right. Thank you, Wally. And hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for what will be a fun and informative session. My name is Greg Ogiba, and I have the pleasure of moderating this interview with two talented produce experts and ex-Passion for Produce participants, or PFPers, as we like to call them, Jess Levac and Michael Wexler. And I've also had the pleasure of being involved with the Passion for Produce program almost since the beginning 13 years ago. And for those of you listening who are new to the program or maybe aren't aware of what the program does, the Passion for Produce program is the Canadian produce industry's foremost professional development and mentorship program. And since the beginning 13 years ago, we've had over 60 member companies participate and nearly 200 individuals come through the PFP program. And many of those participants have grown into leadership roles, and they're already leading today, including Jess and Michael, which has been incredible to see. And a bit more on the PFP program. It takes place over the 3-day conference and trade show, which is going to be in Toronto next month. And it's jam-packed with learning opportunities, mentorship sessions, and networking events with the goal of allowing all the participants to learn all they can about the fresh produce industry in Canada. PFPers leave the program with a deeper understanding of the industry, a renewed enthusiasm for this amazing industry, and long-lasting relationships, which is what produce is based on. With that said, I would like to introduce two of my friends whom I met through the PFP program, Jess and Michael. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Great.
Doing pretty well. Thank you. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take the listeners on a journey, starting with your experience in the produce world. Then we'll jump into your experience during the Passion for Produce program and since. And we're going to talk about some thoughts on mentorship, some thoughts on the Passion for Produce and its overall impact on the industry. So, Jess, I'm going to start with you. Could you please tell us a bit about your journey into the produce world?
Absolutely. So I got started in the produce industry back in 2012. At the time, I was 24 years young, and I randomly stumbled upon an opportunity to work at Bellemont Powell. Bellemont Powell is a sales and marketing firm specialized in brand management, also known as a broker. And I got hired in a customer service role where I mainly managed the order desk. I had zero knowledge of the produce industry. I had no idea what I was getting into. I'd never heard of anyone making a career out of working in produce. They don't really give you that option in school. And then one thing led to another. I fell in love with our industry, and the rest is just history. I can proudly say I've been working in produce for over a decade now, and I'm definitely not going anywhere.
Oh, that's great. The industry is lucky to have you. And what you said there is kind of, it's not abnormal to hear that somebody sort of falls into produce, falls in love with it, and then it's almost impossible to get out.
I agree.
So yeah, we are lucky to have you. And Michael, what's your story? How did you end up in the produce industry?
You know what? It's great that you got Jessica and I here because I think we have pretty polar opposite stories. So I grew up in the produce industry. My parents are wholesale distributors, and they would buy fresh daily from the Ontario Food Terminal and distribute to restaurants, catering companies, juice bars, natural food house stores, kind of you name it, everything all over the city of Toronto. I really grew up in the industry. You know, every time the phone rang, it was a produce order. Every March break, winter break, PA day, you name it, I was either up early at the food terminal receiving product or out kind of delivering it and being an aide all afternoon across the city. So kind of in the blood a little bit, and definitely grew up with it.
No kidding. Wow. Yeah, no kidding. You're an expert, born into it. So you're either born into it or you fall into it, but you can't get out. That's the main thing. So Michael, you were part of the virtual class, I believe. Can you tell us a bit more about your experience in the PFP program?
Mm-hmm. So I'm part of a special class, the 2021 virtual cohort. So I got to participate from the comfort of my own living room. And, definitely a lot of pros and cons, being part of that in that virtual setting. Really, there's two memories that stick out. One, we had this virtual home cooking social event. And I'm not sure how we did it, but somehow I made incredible chicken fried rice. And I really surprised myself. And it was fun to, be with my cohort, everyone kind of at home. And it was funny that evening, the icebreaker, somehow everyone was introducing their dog. And the FOMO was real that I didn't have one, but everyone else, shared and you really kind of got to know them and see inside their home. So it was kind of neat in that regard.
I thought you were going to tell me that you went out and bought a dog afterwards.
I'm trying. I'm talking to my wife all the time. So hopefully any day now, we'll see. But I guess what really struck out is our virtual kind of like speed dating, speed networking. It kind of pivoted from like a 5-minute speed date to more of an offline 15, 20 minute on your own time conversation. And that is really what I felt as just the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. Having those relationships with the heavy hitters in the industry, getting their insights, and having them really share that wisdom, guidance, support for up and comers in the industry. I mean, it was just incredible.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the Passion for Produce program is really built on the mentors who give their time to really A to Z, or I should say A to Z here in Canada. A to Z, they have the industry covered, and the fact that they're willing to spend so much time with the Passion for Produce participants and trading that knowledge and that insight and experience, that's what makes the program so special. So I'm glad your experience was great. We're going to come back to talk a bit more about the PFP program itself and the different components. Jess, what about you? What city? You were not the virtual class, so what city were you, and do you remember, or what year was it?
Yeah, so I was the class right after Michael's, so I had a different experience, right? So we were back, in person. I didn't get to experience the virtual side of things, but yes, I was the 2022 class last year, actually, in Montreal. And I can honestly say it was one of the most rewarding experiences of my professional career. It expanded my horizons. It introduced me to so many incredible individuals, many of whom I now consider friends. And when I think about the standout aspect of the program for me, it was the overwhelming kindness demonstrated by everyone involved, not just the mentors, but even fellow PFP alumni like Michael, just where I met him, who just went out of his way to just make everyone feel at ease. It was intimidating at first, but the icebreaker session was a great way for us to introduce ourselves to one another. That was followed by a cocktail reception that allowed us to meet and mingle with CPMA staff, board members, mentors, and even Senator Rob Black. Mm-hmm. Our team also bonded over a cook-off the following day. So we got that in-person version, Michael. And there's nothing quite like friendly competition to get you pumped. We won. I still have my prize up on my wall, the wooden spoon. We were also fortunate enough to engage in a speed mentoring session with industry experts willing to share their knowledge with us. Then we got to walk the trade show floor with them. We attended the welcome reception, the young professionals / women in produce reception, the awards brunch, the banquet, and I'm probably missing quite a few off the top of my head. It was a very busy 3 days.
Yeah, as I said right at the beginning, it is chocked full of activities and networking events and all this stuff. So thank you for summarizing all of it. It is quite a lot.
It was a lot, but you know what? By the end of the program, I think it's safe to say we were all feeling a bit emotional. I mean, it was intense, but we all formed genuine connections that made it difficult to say goodbye. A lot of us are still in touch to this day. I visit some of my friends out west whenever I can. We even have a WhatsApp discussion app where we can all keep in touch and just know what's going on with everyone else. So I would, without a doubt, recommend it to anyone and do it all over again if I could.
Yeah, and that's something you touched on there is the alumni network. Now that we're 13 years into this, and as I mentioned right at the beginning, we have almost 200 people that have come through this program, many of which are in produce and leading. Again, you can't get out, but they're leaders in our industry. And even for you, Michael, being part of the virtual class, you're invited to all these alumni events and you get a chance to meet everybody in person. It's been that way for the last, since we've been back in person. And another thing you touched on, Jess, is the speed mentoring. So I want to go back to you, Michael, for a second. Can you talk about that? That's always a favorite component when we do a survey at the end of the participants. They love that speed mentoring session. So can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. So, it was really a great opportunity to speak with people from other companies who've had different career paths in different organizations at varying levels and get their insights, and help give guidance and support, encouragement. Just kind of keep that momentum going in the next generation, and by, having that building block and sharing their knowledge.
Yeah. And now you're in a position to be looking at mentorship the other way, and you're participating in the new classes coming through and helping mentor the new leaders coming through.
Still both ways. You're right. I'm happy to share and guide and support, but, also those mentors from a couple of years ago are now friends and people that I maintain those relationships and keep in touch with them and easily can pick up the phone and call, text, and get their inputs on anything.
Sure. Yeah. And that's important, as I mentioned earlier as well. And I think we all agree that this is an industry based on relationships. It's based on friendships. And this program really puts you in a strong position to build those relationships in a collaborative and a learning environment, which has been awesome to see. Let's finish on the PFP program. Is there anything else that you think the listeners would be interesting to share about the program that's jumped out as unique? Jess, can you add anything else?
I touched base on a lot of things, but for me, it was just putting yourself out there and the selflessness of the mentors, right? They come to you and they give you all of that knowledge without expecting anything in return. That for me was very, very unique. Not many industries, like you said, Greg, we're all based on relationships and friendships. It really, really shows these people will give you 100% of their attention and their time if it means helping you out. So that was fantastic for me.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so we've covered the PFP program. And again, it's a robust offering of learning experiences, opportunities, networking opportunities. Let's talk a little bit more about what's happened since you've gone through the PFP program. Can you talk a little bit about your involvement with the CPMA or any other committees that you're involved in, and what associations and industry groups you're involved in, and the value of being involved? So I'll stay with you, Jess.
A lot's happened to me in the past year. So as of recently, I joined the education committee along with the PFP alumni subcommittee. It was a bit of a no-brainer for me. The PFP program gave me so many opportunities, and I want to give back in any way possible. And on the provincial side, I completed my mandate as the next generation intern for the Quebec Produce Marketing Association on December 31st, and I'm currently serving as chair of their next generation committee. On a more personal level, I was promoted to the position of director, so it's my first leadership role. I can now actually...
Congratulations.
Thank you. I can now actually give back and mentor some people on my own, and I try and replicate some of the tips and tricks and experiences I've had with some CPMA mentors as well. I find it to be incredibly fulfilling, despite the occasional challenges here and there. It's fun, and I really try to give back in the same way people have given me opportunities. After CPMA, I attended the CPMA semi-annual in Victoria, BC. That was probably one of the biggest learning experiences for me this year. I was able to participate in various committees, voice my opinions on different matters. I mean, something that was strongly encouraged by staff and board members, especially Wally. He wouldn't let us sit on a committee and not express ourselves. It was important that we share our opinions. We were made to feel very important, and that was outstanding. Again, I was mind blown by how kind and welcoming people were.
That's amazing. And I was out there in Victoria as well. And you're right, Wally, the education manager, is excellent. And he's focused, as is the committee, in integrating the leadership, the future leaders, into the industry. So the semi-annual event, it's a series of committee meetings that happens, in the 6 months or so after the main trade show. And for you and some other PF peers to be invited and be able to experience it, and not just experience it, but actually participate. And your opinion and that of the other PF peers is just so important. And I love that component of the program. And it's just kind of adds to how robust this leadership development, this Passion for Produce program is. So thank you for that, Jess. And Michael, what about you? Since you've been through the program, can you tell us a little bit about it and what associations you're involved in and the value of that?
Yeah. So I guess, kind of since the Passion for Produce program in 2021, my resume has expanded quite a bit. I'm nearly completed my MBA at the University of Guelph in a specialized program in food and agriculture. I'm a director on the OPMA and participate on many committees. And I'm on the CPMA's education committee. So, kind of that aside, what I wanted to touch on and from CPMA, really a key takeaway, what's most important is a larger understanding to the produce industry and the big picture. So, for instance, when there's mudslides in BC and the country's separated into two, or when rail is essentially eliminated, or there's extreme snow, these aren't excuses for not delivering product or losing a sale. But, it's this shared mentality amongst those involved in the CPMA that really we're solutions providers and that, we're really here to deliver product, fresh, healthy produce to Canadians year round. And that's really the key takeaway from CPMA is putting on that hat and being the solutions provider.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you're both really involved in the industry post PFP and even before. But I think that's why I'm so glad to have you on this podcast, because you're both great examples of what the future looks like, and the future in produce is bright. So I'm impressed with what you've both done since. Michael, the only thing is you didn't mention is you didn't get a dog, right? We're clear? There's no dog yet?
No dog.
But you had a child.
Yeah.
Okay.
One child and yeah.
You've been busy. Okay. Let's shift gears here a little bit and talk about one of the core components of the PFP program, and that's mentorship. Could you talk in general terms, or if you want to get specific about mentors that have impacted you, could you just talk about the role that mentorship has played in getting you to this point in your career, Jess?
Yeah, so that's a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. My job exposes me to so many fantastic people. It's only natural so far that I start with my two amazing bosses, Dino and Christian, who have selflessly helped me get to where I am today. There was a time in my career where I felt like I had to explore different options. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I did. I left the company for almost 2 years before coming home. And I grew from that experience. I came back even stronger, wiser, I hope, and more knowledgeable. Not many people would have accepted that. And I was very, very lucky that I was welcomed back with open arms, with new opportunities. So mentorship, I see it as, they let me do my thing. They let me learn from my own experiences, and they let me come back when I was ready as well. And I think that's very important. On the CPMA side, I've never had much of an issue reaching out to people and asking for help. So I can say I've had many mentors along the way. I have amazing supplier partners I can call anytime. QPMA, CPMA staff have extended the same courtesy. I mean, outside of PFP, I've had several insightful conversations with the likes of, let's say, Joe Sprocki or Mike Catalano, who I can call anytime if I need their input on something. More recently, I had been mulling it over for a little while, but I felt like I needed the guidance of a strong woman in our industry. And I wanted someone outside of my inner professional circle. Opening up to people you work with is hard. So it was important that I find that special person that I would be able to talk to. I had someone in mind already. I didn't know her very well, so I did my due diligence. I called around, asked for people's opinions and references, all of whom validated that I was choosing the right person. And in November, at my very first OPMA gala, we all saw each other there. I gathered up my courage and I asked Michelle McMillan, who happens to be a mentor for PFP as well, if she would be my mentor. We didn't know each other very well. I wasn't sure what she was going to say, but she just gave me a big hug, called me kiddo, and said yes. So honestly, it's been a perfect match. She's exactly what I was looking for, and that's all thanks to the PFP program.
Wow, that's fantastic to hear. And all three of those individuals, Mike and Joe and Michelle, they really are amazing people, not just amazing mentors. They do that well also, but they're just amazing people. So really glad to hear that story. And last year, if I'm not mistaken, more than half of the PFPers were women of the 18 individuals admitted into the class.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that is a trend that's here to stay. And I mean, we're really excited about it. It's not easy to get into the program. There's a lot of applications, and to see more than half being women is amazing. All right, Michael, what about you? How has mentorship helped you get to this point in your career?
Yeah. So I think, really, especially the last couple of years since having the mentorship program and having those heavy hitters at arm's reach really helped. Those relationships are real, and the ability to call any one of them up and just say, hey, as a mentor, and then really could say anything. And it's great with that brutal honesty, because before I never had mentors in that same capacity. There were role models or, other people, coworkers that maybe are a little higher on the food chain that you aspire to be or, want to be like. But, when they're your coworker, there's always politics and you kind of got to watch what you say a little bit. But, when it's this in the mentorship program with the industry giants and heavy hitters, the advice is real and the knowledge is real and the honesty is real in there.
Yeah, it's amazing. And again, now I sound like a broken record, but it is that mentorship backbone of the Passion for Produce program, which makes it so strong. So let's switch gears a second here. A few minutes ago, I mentioned how competitive it is to get into this program. And over the years, as leaders developed and companies realized, wow, this really is a valuable program to develop my employees, but also to develop future leaders of produce. It's become much more competitive. So the question I have for you, and I'll stay with you on this one, Michael, is what advice would you give people applying for the Passion for Produce program?
I mean, it is a very competitive program, and that's just because the benefits are so great. Kudos to you, Greg, and Wally and the CPMA staff and team for, putting on such a unbelievable program that so many people want to be a part of. I just want to say, if it's not in the cards or you don't get in the first time, that the program is great and to try again and maybe use the time, to work almost on your application. And here I might plug, everything else in the industry, but get involved with your provincial PMAs. I know in Ontario and BC, they're starting up like a kind of a young leaders stream. Get involved in that. Still go to CPMA, and go to the trade shows and all the events and seminars and sessions and, be there and, shake hands, kiss babies, and kind of do all that fun stuff.
Yeah, that is a great answer. Keep trying. And as you said, work on things and keep trying, and eventually, hopefully, it'll work out for that individual. So, Jess, what about you? Would you give what advice would you give for somebody applying? And then I'm going to follow up with a question about what advice would you give somebody once they get into the program?
I would say just do it, apply. Even if you think you have strong connections and a good understanding of our industry, there's always something else you can learn. There are so many facets of our industry. You can't know everything. Passion for produce will put you on a fast track to where you want to be. The PFP schedule is intense, and you're there to make the most of it. You get what you put into the program, get involved, ask questions, introduce yourself to people. If you stay in your corner and don't put yourself out there, it'll be a wasted opportunity. Like Michael said, spots are limited on the program. If you were chosen for this, it's because CPMA saw something in you. So you need to make the best of it.
Excellent answer. Okay, so we're getting towards the end here. I want to leave the audience with one piece of advice for those listening. Maybe they're individuals interested in this program, or maybe just in general in terms of developing in their career. What pearls of wisdom would you offer that listener? Jess, what do you think?
So I have to quote Jane Proctor on this one. Bit of humor to start with. The first thing she told us when we started the program was, you can party with the night owls, but you got to chirp with the birds. So don't make any side plans when you're signing up for PFP. On a more serious side, I think people need to do what makes them uncomfortable. We all have a comfort zone. It takes a lot of guts to say yes to things you've never done before. I now automatically say yes to any opportunity that scares me. This podcast interview is a perfect example. So French being my first language, I was really worried about my accent. I know Michael was telling me he doesn't like the way he sounds. I mean, I had a major case of imposter syndrome, and my first reaction was to ask myself, why me? When we really should be asking ourselves, why wouldn't it be me? We all deserve this. Someone I know and love asked me a few days ago why I put myself through these situations that make me anxious. I'm an introvert. I was always a shy kid, and my response was very simple, and I stand by it today, because I didn't get where I am today by playing it safe. So I refuse to miss out on any future opportunities because of self-doubt.
That's amazing advice. Thank you, Jess. And your insights throughout this conversation have been awesome. And your accent is great, much better than my French, which is non-existent. Yeah, I would say next time we'll do it in French, but that's not possible. Michael, what about you? Pearls of wisdom that you could offer people listening?
Just surround yourself with great people. Have an open ear, an open mind, and similar to Jessica's points, to jump in with 2 feet and be full steam ahead. Take all the opportunities that are given to you, and just participate and be fully aware and invested in the situation.
That's great. Awesome advice from both of you. And again, the industry is lucky to have leaders like you as the next generation that's going to take produce into the future. And as you mentioned earlier, Michael, really the main goal is to drive consumption of healthy and tasty fruits and vegetables. And we're all lucky to be in this position. So thanks again for joining us. And now that we've have more than almost 200 alumni in the program, we're able to host events even outside the trade show. So I want to give a shout out to Kevin Sorchetti, who leads up the alumni network. And I encourage any of you ex-PFPers who are listening to this to make sure you're looking out for what events are coming up. Get in touch with us or get in touch with Kevin to learn more. And for sure, we're looking forward to seeing everybody at the CPMA trade show here in Toronto at the end of next month. So, Michael, Jess, thank you so much for your time today. This was an awesome conversation, and we'll see you in Toronto.
See you in Toronto.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thanks again to Greg, Jessica, and Michael for your thoughts and experience. CPMA looks forward to hosting the next group of 18 Passion for Produce participants who will experience the CPMA Convention and Trade Show from April 25th to the 27th in Toronto. Remember to check out your halfyourplate.ca website for recipes and many money-saving tips. Until next time, fill half your plate with fruits and veggies, continue to seek out new knowledge, and basically never stop growing.